What is up, guys? It's your good old friend Ben Malol, and I hope you missed me because I actually haven't uploaded content in a pretty long time. And the reason for that is because I was super busy with my own business, with my agency, with my new students for social marketing masterclass, that I didn't really have time to push in new content because, believe it or not, but doing these videos is a time investment. It takes a few days to actually get this video up and rolling in terms of thinking about the idea, writing the content, rephrasing the content that everybody will understand it, filming it, editing. It takes time. And I didn't really have that time to put into it. And my priorities were kind of different as well. I wanted to invest more time in my actual business and my actual clients. Other than that, this is actually the thing that I like the most, which is publishing content, teaching. It's something that I really loved. It's the business that gives me the least amount of return on investment, but it's not always about a return on investment. It's about what you like doing. And that's what I've actually noticed in the past year, where I've invested so much time in my actual businesses that I forgot what really makes me happy. I forgot what I really like doing. So with that being said, before I get too emotional, I wanted to jump into something, a subject that not a lot of people are actually talking about. And actually, I know a lot of people don't even know this. People that are experts in Facebook ads don't really know these things. And that's surprising to me because you really need to know how these things work. And we're talking about the optimization here to really fundamentally understand Facebook on the highest level. And that's what I really want to talk about today. With that being said, let's just jump right into today's lesson. Today, I want to talk about optimization. What to optimize for, how really the optimization works, and some secrets and tips that I'm pretty sure that you probably don't know of. So, first of all, and this is the main lesson of this whole class, of this whole video, optimizing for the end goal will not always get you the best results. Now, what do I mean exactly by that? Everybody tells you to optimize for the end goal that you want to get. It can be purchases, it can be leads, it can be registrations. For every business, it's different, okay? Usually it's purchases, okay? Usually any business at the end, it's a purchase. So we're just gonna use that as an example, okay? If you're running a Shopify store, an e-commerce store, then it's probably a purchase. That's what you're looking for. I'm pretty confident that that's what you're looking for. Now, it's not always the smartest idea to go ahead and optimize for that conversion. And I'll explain why. An ad set, okay, needs a minimum of 35 to 50 conversions a week, minimum, to really optimize efficiently, to get to its highest potential, essentially. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the optimization mostly happens on the ad set level. Okay, so what do I mean by that? When you publish a new ad set, when you run a new ad set, the optimization happens on the ad set. So yes, if you have previous data on your pixel, it will work better, but 90% of how the ad set will function depends on the actual ad set, not previous data, not data from other campaigns, not data from other ad sets, but that ad set. So the more conversions that ad set gets, the better it will get on whatever you're optimizing for. Of course, we're talking about website conversion ad sets if you didn't get that until now. Now, the more data the ad set gets on the conversion that you are optimizing for, the better it will perform. So it starts to get one conversion, it's going to get better. It starts to get another conversion, it gets better and better, the more conversions it gets. So if you're optimizing for purchases, the more purchases the ad set brings, the better the ad set will work. Why? Because every new conversion actually teaches the ad set who is your potential client, who is your potential converter. So if you're running an ad set on optimizing for purchase and Steve from New York, aged 34, bought from you, then it will learn about Steve, it will learn what Steve likes, and then it will start to show your ad to people that are similar to Steve. Now, the more conversions it gets, the more it understands who is your potential client, okay? So what we're actually talking about here is that even if you're targeting a specific audience, that's not the entire, that's not the entire function, that's not the entire equation. What actually happens is that the more the more data the ad set gets, the better it will work, and the more it will actually segment the audience that you're targeting, and the more it will show your ad to relevant people. Now, the ad set actually learns more and more the more data it gets, like I said. So conversions, this is important, conversions that happen more frequently will be more beneficial for the ad set. Okay, what does that mean? So a purchase happens an X amount of time, right? But conversions that happen before a purchase happens more often. Okay, we can't argue with that. An add to cart happens more often than a purchase. A lead happens more often than a purchase. And a view content happens more often than a purchase, of course, because that's the first step in the funnel. You have to go through that step to get to a purchase, right? Yeah, so the faster actually the ad set gets the data, which is the conversions, the better. Facebook looks at the ad sets that get conversions fast as more relevant. And in general, the faster the ad set gets conversions, the faster it will optimize. Okay, so remember the 35 to 50 rule. Now, what that actually means for you, it means that the more often the conversion that you're optimizing for happens, the faster the ad set will optimize. Okay, so if you're optimizing for a purchase, and if you're paying like $20 for a purchase and you get only one purchase a day, it's gonna take the ad set time for it to really reach its potential, because that's not a lot of data. But if you're optimizing for an add to cart, and ads to cart, let's say, happen 5 times a day on that ad set, then it's going to optimize faster because it gets more data. It learns on the ideal converter for that specific conversion. So let me jump a bit right here. Okay. So what that actually means is that you might see better results optimizing for add to cart, initiate checkout, add payment info. These are all steps in your funnel, right? So this is an example of a Shopify store, right? But any other business, you should know what the funnel steps are. For Shopify, it will be a view content, to an add to cart, to an initiate checkout, to an add payment info, to eventually a purchase. Now, the closer the conversion is to the end goal, the better, essentially, because the more they're closer to that, the more their buyer's intent, right? So when you're optimizing for purchases, that's the ideal customer, right? The person that buys. But an add payment info, people that reach the add payment info page are pretty close to a buyer's as well, if you think about it. Because people that reach, so the add payment info event actually happens after they put in their payment info. So that's somebody that's, not after they put their payment info, but when they actually reach the payment info page. After they reach the checkout, after they put the add to cart, they reach the checkout, and then they got to the payment info page. That step is it's pretty buyer's intent, because people are already kind of certain that they want to buy, but of course not everybody that gets to the payment info page buys, right? But you might actually find better results optimizing on that action, because it has more data. So let's say out of 10 people that reach that page, 5 people buy. So what that means is that you'll actually get double the amount of data for Facebook against a purchase. So if you're getting on an ad set, let's say 2 purchases a day, try optimizing for add payment info. You'll get 4 add payment infos a day, which is double the amount of data, which means it will actually optimize double. It will optimize double the time, faster, half the time, because it gets double the data, if that makes sense. And the thing is, when you're actually optimizing for an add payment info, you're optimizing for people to add their payment info. So that's not too different than a purchase. If you optimize for add to cart, that might be a bit junkier. That might be a bit further away from a purchase, because we all know that a lot of people add to cart, but they don't buy. Sometimes 1 out of 10 people that add to cart buy, sometimes 1 out of 3 people that add to cart buy. Again, it depends on the business, it depends on the product. But the more you optimize closer to the purchase, the better. That doesn't mean that you should always optimize for purchases, though. Maybe optimizing for add payment info will give you better results, or even initiate checkout, because these conversions have more data than a purchase. Okay, does that make sense? I'm feeling that makes sense, but again, these are things that nobody talks about, so it might be a bit hard to explain. But essentially, when you're optimizing on these conversions, you're telling Facebook to get people to actually convert on that against the purchase, which is fine, because if out of 10 add payment infos, you get 5 purchases, statistically, if you bring 100 add payment infos, you'll get 50 purchases. And that'll be easier to optimize, and you'll get actually conversions faster, because the data happens more. Okay? And initiate checkout happens more than add payment info, and add to cart happen more than initiate checkout. So, now remember, usually the conversion with the most data will not work the best. Okay? That's an important rule, because it is too far from the last conversion. So by last conversion, I mean the purchase, like the conversion that you want to get, the end goal conversion. You can optimize for view content, but out of 1,000 view content, you might have 30 buyers, right? So optimizing for view content might not really get you the results that you want. just because it's too far away from a purchase. It's gonna be a shit ton of data, but the data probably won't be as good as, for example, optimizing for an add to cart. It's worth a try though, because we've dealt with so many different types of clients and products that sometimes a view content actually works more than a purchase because there's such a huge amount of data that's coming in. Okay, and because there's such a huge amount of data, Facebook optimizes super fast. Optimizing, for example, for view content works sometimes really well with products that have a high conversion rate. So if your conversion rates are 10%, that means 1 out of 10 people that visit your website is a buyer. So that means that out of 100 view contents, you're gonna get 10 buyers, which is a pretty good statistic, okay? So here's an example, right? Depending on your business funnel, of course, your conversion flow might be different. For online stores, Shopify, WooCommerce, this is usually how it works. Again, these numbers are just like an average numbers that we see sometimes, but again, yours can be different. So out of 1,000 view content, 1,000 visitors essentially, or 1,000 people that view your products, 90 people add to cart, right? So that's 9%. Out of 90 people that add to cart, 50 people initiate checkout. Out of 50 people that initiate checkout, 40 people reach the add payment info, and then 30 people eventually buy, okay? So that basically means that out of 3 people that add to cart, 1 person buys, right? Because 30 divided by 90 is 3. So you understand that? That means that if you're optimizing for an add to cart, you're gonna get triple the amount of data against a purchase. It's gonna be less relevant than a purchase, but maybe because of the more data that it has, the customer that is less valuable, because it will just get you better data, it might actually work better than a purchase. Again, it's all about testing these things. Okay, sometimes an add payment info will work better. Usually an add payment info, initiate checkout, and purchase works pretty similar. An add to cart, sometimes it's kind of a hit or miss type thing. Any other funnel, this is just like usually the clients that we work with have a funnel like this, where it's a view content to a lead. So it's like a lead gen type thing to an actual offer. So initiate checkout, add payment info, purchase. So here the purchase conversion rate is 0.6%. And the initiate checkout is about triple the amount of purchases. So actually optimizing for leads here won't really give me a good result just because it's so much data against a purchase. It's times 100 more than a purchase. So 1 out of 100 leads will eventually buy. Now, you can actually find these numbers if you want to see your conversion rates and how many pixel fires you have at every event in the analytics tool, which I'm going to probably do another video where I'm going to really talk about that, because this is a super powerful tool, by the way. And if you're not using it, you should start using it. So if you go to your ad manager, you go to measure and report analytics, and then you will pick your pixel. You'll have a list of pixels to pick from. You pick your pixel, and then at the right where it says activity, you'll go to funnels, and then you'll need to create your funnel. So that just means to create the event after event after event, okay? So you just type in view content, and then depending on your funnel. So if you're doing Shopify, it's gonna be view content, add to cart, initiate checkout, add payment info, and purchases. And if you're using like a different software to have your pixel installed, you might not have add payment info. It really depends on the type of business that you're running and how your pixel is installed. But if you're using the Shopify integration, then it'll be view content, add to cart, initiate checkout, add payment info, and purchases. For here, this example will be, because this is a client that we run ads to, it's view content to lead, to initiate checkout, to add payment info, to purchases. So just imagine this, like take your own funnel and your own events and put this here. Okay, this is just for the example, right? So what I'm actually seeing here is that you can see out of 58,000 purchases, right? We have 98,000 at payment infos. Okay, you can see the graph below. Out of 98,000 at payment infos, we have 712,000 initiate checkout, 5.8 million leads, and 11.4 million view content. So you can see the conversion rates on each one of these events here. But what that actually shows me is that the ad payment info and the purchases, first of all, the ad payment info is less than double the amount of purchases that we have. So maybe optimizing for an ad payment info will work better than a purchase because it has almost double the amount of data, okay? That means that even if we keep those metrics, even if half of the ad payment info will convert to a purchase, well, it will actually work better than a purchase because it just has more data. Usually what happens when you optimize for like steps below is that the metrics change. So if the ad payment info here is like 100,000 and then 57,000 out of that is purchases. So 57% of people that add payment info actually eventually buy. If we optimize for ad payment info, we'll probably get like those numbers won't stay the same. It will be a bit lower. So out of 100,000 ad payment info, instead of 57,000 purchases, we'll probably go down to like 50,000 or 45,000. But still, even though those numbers go down, we might get better results just because there's so much more data. Okay, again, if you build this for yourself, you'll see how many view contents you have to add to cart, to initiate checkout, to add payment info, and so on and so on. So with that being said, I want to talk about like so how much we're actually paying here. So let's say we have these results, right? These are the results that we talked about before. 1,000 view contents, 90 adds to cart, 50 initiate checkouts, 40 add payment info, and 30 purchases. Let's say this whole thing costs us $500. Let's say we invested $500 and this is the results that we got. So a quick calculation means that we're paying $0.5 to get a view content, right? Because 1,000 divided by 500 divided by 1,000 is 0.5, right? Half a dollar. We're paying $5.5 to get an add to cart. Again, same calculations, 500 divided by 90. We're paying $10 to get an initiate checkout. We're paying $10 to get an initiate checkout, $12.5 to get an ad payment info, and about $16.5 to get a purchase. Okay, those are the numbers that we're paying, that we paid actually for each one of these events, right? So again, we put $500. This is the results that we got. This is how much we're paying for each one of these events. So if we go back to our 35 to 50 conversions a week rule, we can now basically calculate what daily budget we need for the ad set to really work efficiently. Again, an ad set needs about 35 to 50 conversions a week on whatever you're optimizing for to work efficiently. Okay. Yes, you can have $5 ads running, $10 ads running, and you can see results from that. But that you're not really getting the best potential that you can for that ad set with those budgets. Now, we want to go back to a 35 to 50 conversions a week rule, right? You see the numbers here. You can see view content, $0.5. This is how much we paid, $5.5 for an add to cart, and so on and so on. So if we now release a new ad set and we're optimizing for purchases, okay, and we're paying $16.5 is the average that we're paying for a purchase, we're gonna take that $16.5 and we're gonna multiply that by 35, because 35 conversions a week is what we want to get for the ad set to really optimize efficiently. That adds up to $577. So we need to potentially spend $577 a week optimizing for the purchase conversion for the ad set to reach a good potential. Okay? Because again, we want 35 conversions a week because that's how many conversions the ad set needs a minimum for it to work efficiently. And we're paying $16.5 for a purchase, okay, from our last calculation. So if we multiply that by that means that we need to spend $577 a week for this ad set to potentially get optimized. So if we divide that by 7, the 577, we divide that by 7 because there's 7 days in a week, we'll get to $82. So if we want to optimize for purchases, that's going to need to be our minimum of a daily budget for the ad set to really get to a good point where it works efficiently. Okay, efficiently meaning to reach its highest potential. So if the ad set doesn't work with $82 a day, then there's no better way to actually run it on a purchase conversion. Of course, we're all talking about ad copy here, or if your store is even converting or stuff like that, okay, which you should work on. We're just talking about the Facebook ad side. So that's our daily budget, $82 a day, because with $82 a day, if a purchase costs us $16.5, we'll reach about 35 conversions a week, potentially. Now, if you don't want to invest that much every day, okay, and I know a lot of people don't want to invest that much every day, we can optimize on an earlier conversion. So, for example, if we optimize for initiate checkouts, we do the same calculation. We need to multiply $10 by 35 because we're paying $10 for an initiate checkout. That's going to be $350 because we want 35 conversions a week again. We need to potentially spend $350 a week optimizing for initiate checkouts for the ad set to reach a good potential. Again, 35 conversions a week, it doesn't matter on what conversion. Okay, whatever matters is the conversion that you're optimizing for. So if you're optimizing for purchases, you need to have 35 purchases a week. If you're optimizing for initiate checkout, you need to have 35 initiate checkouts a week, and so on and so on. Minimum, that's minimum. So potentially we need to spend $350 a week optimizing for initiate checkout for the ad set to reach a good potential. So if we divide that by 7, again, 7 days in a week, 350 divided by 7 equals $45. So that's our daily budget. Okay, $45 is our daily budget if we're optimizing for initiate checkout, which is cheaper. Again, it's always recommended to get as many conversions as possible on the conversion that you're optimizing for. Okay, the more conversion that you get, the better it will work. Okay, that's why I usually don't aim for 35. I always aim for a minimum of getting potentially 10 a day. So 10 a day is 70 a week. Okay, so that's double that 35. That's how I do my calculation, by the way. I look at the ad set, I try to calculate how much I'm going to pay for the specific conversion I'm optimizing for, and I multiply that by 10. That's going to be my daily budget. So the thing is that I usually test purchases and add payment info or initiate checkout. I usually test one of those and add to cart. And sometimes even view content depending on the product. You'll be really surprised sometimes what works the best. Okay, yeah, we've seen time and time again that purchases is not the one that actually works the best. It's usually, you'll notice that purchases will work good when the action is cheap, like anywhere between like $1 to like $10, $15. But if the purchase actually costs you like $20, $30, $40, you might notice that an ad payment info actually works better just because it's much more cheaper and Facebook gets much more data. And it is always easier. This is super important when you want to scale, okay? This is the most important thing. This is what I care for. I don't care about those ads. Those are just tests. It's always easier to manual bid on cheaper conversions because they just happen more often. So your assumptions are more accurate, okay? Because it has more data. Right? So if you're manual bidding on a purchase and a purchase costs you $25 and you're getting only 3-4 purchases a day, it's kind of hard to calculate if you should increase the bid, decrease the bid, or even if the ad set is working good, because 4 conversions is not a good number for an accurate statistic report. Okay, you can't jump to a conclusion with four conversions. Okay, you won't see big companies jumping to conclusions on 5 customers. They look at thousands upon thousands of customers. That's why if, let's say I'm optimizing for an add to cart, I'll be getting, out of 4 purchases, I'll be getting about 20 adds to cart. So when I look at that, it's a much easier number to look at and actually assume if I should increase the bid, decrease the bid, or if this ad set is actually working, because 20 conversions is much more than 4. Which essentially means that I can play with the bid much more easily. And you can change the manual bid more often because data is coming in faster. So with purchases, if you're getting like 3-4 purchases a day, when you change the bid, you need to get data, right? And 4 purchases is not enough data. So you might need to wait a few days before you can decide if you should actually play with the bid. But when you're getting 20-30 a day, then it's much more easier, okay? I even sometimes, like I play with really big budgets, so I can have hundreds of these conversions happening a day. So every few hours, I can already get results and start playing with the bid. And again, this is super important. I'm repeating this. Of course, the further away you go from the end goal, okay, the more junkier the traffic might be. Okay, not might be, but will actually be. Like a view content, for example. It's all about testing to see what works the best for you. That's why if you're usually optimizing for purchases, try to optimize for add to cart, try to optimize for initiate checkout. Add payment info, you'll be surprised how much sometimes an add payment info conversion will work better than a purchase. Just because it's super similar in the type of person, and it just has more data. So optimizing for that payment info will essentially give you almost the same exact person as the person that buys. It will actually bring you the same exact person, but it will sometimes just work better just because it has more data. Okay? I hope that makes sense. And yeah, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't yet subscribed, subscribe to my channel because I'll be starting to publish at least a video a week about guides like these. And if you are not on my email list and you don't have my free book, I have an ebook about the 3 steps on how to create, run, and profit from Facebook ads. Make sure to get that and subscribe. That's the most important. And I'll see you again. And if you like this video again, make sure to show this to your business partner or whoever you think will enjoy this, if it's a Facebook community or whatever. And I'll see you next time.